Okay, I'm headed back out of Costco now. Got some interesting things to tell you guys. Yep, interesting things to tell you. Let's get out of here first. Okay, so I was at Costco. As you know, from what I told you in the past, there are standing tables now, right? Yep, standing tables. They're all lined up right on the aisle as you walk out. Closer there. I mean, like I said, they keep moving they keep moving those standing tables, but that's where they were again today. So there was a guy who was standing at the table. Of course, I wasn't going to stand at the table. I had to ask somebody if I could sit down, and the guy let me sit. Yeah, no problem. He didn't want to talk, but that's okay. But I sat. He was sitting there by himself. I just said, would you mind sharing your table? And he goes, sure, yeah, no problem. I think he was just waiting for the tire department. That's really what I think. He had no food or anything. He was just kind of sitting there. So anyways, the guy standing at the table was kind of loud, okay? And he was talking to some ladies who were in the tables next to him. And he was complaining about how now they make you stand at tables, and he didn't like standing at tables. So the lady said, you want to sit here with us? No, I don't really mind. And I'm thinking, well, if you didn't really mind, why were you saying you didn't like standing at the tables? So anyways, but he was kind of a loud guy. He's a young guy. I would say, let's put him at early 20s, something like that. Have you ever seen guys that are kind of loud? When they talk, everybody knows they're talking because they're so loud, right? And it's not because I think he just has a loud voice. I think he wants people to hear him. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about? Do you know that kind of guy? He's got to grab some attention somehow. I've always kind of felt that, people like that have an insecurity, I think. So they want to be noticed. Is that a good word for it? So anything that they do, they want to be noticed. Okay. So he was talking about, back in the days, back in the 50s. Of course, he's never from the 50s. He's too young. Back in the 50s, they wouldn't have you standing. They'd have people at tables. They'd have tables for people. I don't know what his issue was. And the ladies that invited him to sit with them were older ladies. They were probably at least in their 60s, maybe even 70s, 60s at least. And he's making all these comments, and he's saying, and Trump and this and that, So he's going to hit into the political things. He's saying things like, the Democrats want him dead, and he almost got assassinated. How did that guy miss? I mean, he was getting into everything. I'm going, come on, buddy. Nobody wants to hear it. I mean, whether you're a Trump supporter or not, he obviously was not, okay? And, but now everyone knows you're not because you're making all these comments, I mean, there's certain topics you just don't talk about loudly in an environment like that. And everyone's listening to this, of course, even though everyone's kind of going about their own business, trying to pretend that they're not hearing him. But, it's interesting to have people like that around. So when he was done, well, he wasn't really done. He was still there. He was done eating whatever he was eating. He's still standing by the tables. I think he's just waiting for someone else he could talk to. And some girl was standing by the table next to him on the other table. She had walked up to stand by the table. So he started kind of talking loudly to her. So, the thing is, when something like that happens, do you get up and walk away? Do you find someplace else to sit? I mean, I was probably 2 tables away from him, when I was sitting with the gentleman who let me sit. And, but do you just ignore it and walk away, or do you say something to him? What would you do, is my question, okay? What would you do? Would you would you confront him? The thing is let's say, okay, he's talking about Trump, all right? Let's say you are a Trump supporter and you don't agree with what he's saying, would you confront him? Or would you just ignore him and go about your business and move on? Or would you get up and move further away if you could? You know, I mean, you have options what you want to do with a guy like that. But yeah, like I said, I think guys like that are guys that just want to be noticed. You know, they have little insecurities. I recall, all right, kind of similar, but not exactly. I recall being a freshman in college at the University of Illinois when I was a music major for the first year. You know, part of the curriculum, you have to take certain general educational classes, right? So I had a college writing class that I was required to take. And we had a I was going to say substitute teacher, sorry. We had a TA. You know what a TA is? Teaching assistant? Yeah, she was a grad student, you know. Good looking TA. Let me say that. She was a very good looking lady. And yeah, she's technically just a couple years older than us, if you think about it. Being in grad school, how old could she have been? 4 or 5 years older than me, something like that. Okay, so she's your teacher in the college level, getting her master's or whatever she's going for. And there was a guy in this college class in his very first day. Okay, very first day of class, and he's a paraplegic. I'm trying to get the word out here. So he's in his wheelchair. You know, he rolls up, and he's making all sorts of comments and things like that. On the very first day, she's trying to go through her syllabus to let you know what to expect for her class, for the very first class, right? And so he's making comments and goes, oh, this is going to be this and that. Oh, I can see this is going to be a problem here and this. And, you know, he didn't want to do the stuff. So she had no option. I mean, she could either let him keep moaning and groaning for the whole year or confront him right there and then, right? So she confronted him. I think I applaud her for that, because this guy would have been disruptive throughout the whole class for the whole semester if that was the case. She just said, look, she says, is there a problem that you have, you know, that you don't like this class or whatever? And he's complaining about this and that. So she finally just said, look, you know, if you don't like it, nothing tells you that you have to stay in the class. You can find another class to take. I mean, it's the University of Illinois. You can find another class, right? It's not like you're stuck there. He left. Yeah, he left. I don't know what his issue was, but you know, there's people like that. And by the way, as a side note, she was a very good teacher. I learned quite a bit about English writing from her. So whatever she ended up with, yeah, good for her. She was a good teacher, and she knew what she was talking about. Yeah, I learned some things about how to write a little bit better. Yeah, thank you to her. Anyway, let me know in the comments below. What would you do for a guy like that? You know, would you just walk away? Would you confront him? Would you just tell him, shut up? I think everyone wanted to just say, shut up, but nobody says anything, right? Okay, here's another side note. It has nothing to do with this topic. As I was mentioning about the gentleman who let me sit, okay? Here's a pet peeve that I have. Okay, and this could be in anything. It could be the news story. It could be anything of a description. But I cannot stand it. I cannot stand it when a reporter or somebody says, you know, he's talking about some guy who is either breaking the law or not doing socially proper things. He's either he's a crook, he's a burglar, he's a robber, he's a whatever. Okay, he's antisocial. He's not one that society would like. Okay, and then the person describing this person would say, and the gentleman did this. Okay, in my mind, the very first thing to me is that is not a gentleman. I would say, and the man said this, or the man did this, or I would go even further and say the burglar said this. The crook said this. I would not call that guy a gentleman, because gentlemen wouldn't do what the guy did. That's in my mind. Okay, this is how I think. I keep thinking, why do people say the gentleman did this? Or I'll hear this on a news report, maybe the witness. So the reporter is interviewing the witness to a crime or the witness to something that happened. And then the witness will say, yeah, and the gentleman came over and did this. That is not a gentleman. Don't call him a gentleman. He's not. You can call him a man, okay, because he's a man. Or the guy said this. I would say that, but I would not call the guy a gentleman. I wouldn't. That's not gentlemanly behavior in my mind. Let me know what you think about that. Tell me your thoughts on that. Does that bother you? It bothers me when I hear that. Yeah. Okay, since we're talking about that, let me give you another thing that bothers me, right? Improper word, and I said this before on the Russ is Right channel. Improper use of the word I. Johnny and I went to the baseball game. Or Johnny and me went to the baseball game. Or me and Johnny. Okay? What is the proper usage? I did not touch that. Started up by itself. It's haunted, I told you. The radio kicked in. Okay. What is the proper usage? Would you say me and Johnny went to the baseball game? Or would you say Johnny and I went to the baseball game? Or Johnny and me went to the baseball game? What is the proper usage? It's Johnny and I. Because if you take Johnny out of it, it's I went to the baseball game. You wouldn't say me went to the baseball game, right? And you never start out with yourself. You start with the other person, okay? So in that case, the word I is properly used. But a lot of people use the word I incorrectly, okay? Because they think that everything is something in I, right? Take the other person out of it and find out if the word me or I is the best way to do it, okay? So let me give you an example. Let's see. Okay. Camping was fun for Sarah and me, or camping was fun for Sarah and I. That's improper. Camping was fun for Sarah and I. A lot of people would say it that way. That's improper. Take out Sarah. Camping was fun for I. That would be wrong, right? Camping was fun for me. So when you put it together, it's camping was fun for Sarah and me. Okay? You don't use Sarah and I, but they always use and I all the time. Improper use. Bothers me to hear that, and a lot of people do it. They think they're being correct, but they're not. Look it up. All right. Anyway, if you like this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button too. Let me know what you think about all this stuff. Talk to you guys next time.